Hey everybody, Billy Watkins here, and this is The Whole Package by Premier Packaging. My guest today is Premier's Vice President of Human Resources, Kara Rogers. Kara?
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thanks for coming. I apologize up front. Normally we do these things a little earlier in the morning, so it's kind of late in the afternoon for me, and I'm a little
Need a second wind?
I'm a little goofy, yeah.
I'll help you out with that.
Thank you very much. Let's start first, of course, with a little bit of background about you.
Yeah,
Where are you
sure.
from?
Here, I was born and raised in Louisville, so for anyone interested, I went to Manual High School.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, and I wear it like a badge of honor. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but,
me too. What was your major?
Because communications, media
Mine
arts.
was high school university.
Yeah,
So-
where you get to leave
Yeah,
campus
exactly.
and go to U of L and
Strategy.
hang out for the
Smart.
day.
Yeah. So I
Isn't that what-
graduated.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I graduated from Manual and then went off to college. So I graduated from EKU with a degree in communication studies, and then got into recruiting from there, and that led me here.
Yeah, do you remember any favorite teachers? I wonder if we had.
At
You're
Manual,
probably 40 years younger than me, but
He's now the athletic director, Zuber, David Zuber.
I've
Yeah,
been
so
through-
I think he was like an IT teacher.
Oh, nice.
When I was there, and now he, or at least last I knew, he was the athletic director. So we've run into him a couple times out at Oktoberfest,
there was
German American Club.
I think he was there for like a year before I graduated in '78, or no, I'm just kidding. But it was like a whistleblower for the tobacco industry. It was a teacher
Oh.
that Jeffrey Wigand.
Okay.
And everybody, and like so 60 Minutes came and interviewed him and everything.
That's
It was
fancy.
very exciting.
The president, Clinton, visited when I was there. I should
Oh,
have
really?
seen.
Very nice.
Yeah. Manual.
What? When did your interest in human resources start?
Yeah, so when I was at EKU, communication studies would often get lumped in with like PR, marketing, or some of the other sort of communications majors. So we established there were 4 of us to recruit students specifically into communication studies. So just kind of sharing with them about what you could do with the major, how you could use it, once you graduated. So that was sort of my first taste of recruiting. And I remember having a conversation with my professor, and I was like, do people do this like for a job?
Right.
And so that's kind of what started it. So I went into staffing, and then did like some recruiting for manufacturing industries, retail, restaurant, and then came to Premier just a couple short years ago.
I remember when you came. I remember the announcement email because I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know why I clued in on it, but because you used to work at like Cracker Barrel, right? And as in human resource.
Yep.
What was that like?
Yeah, Cracker Barrel, and I know because I saw the questions beforehand, I know there's ones coming up about like the differences between the industries, but I definitely feel like at Cracker Barrel, similar to at Premier, a lot of it was focused on that front line, like who's going to run the restaurants. They're open almost every day
Right.
of the year.
Right.
I mean, there have to be people that show up to
Yeah.
make you
And
eggs and
when do they
bacon
open? Like
and-
at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And
yeah,
they
so the
stay-
managers get there at like 5 a.m. and then they close. And some of the restaurants are like midnight or maybe even later.
Good lord! Got to make the.
So,
Got to make
It
the
was
chicken and dumplings.
when I was there, I supported the restaurants for the first like few years, but then my last 3 or 4 years, I guess my last 3 years there, I was the only recruiter that supported the retail side of the business. So even though it's all in one building,
Right.
the restaurant was sort of managed and led one way at the time that I was there, and retail had a totally separate like vertical
Interesting.
structure. So I was the only recruiter over the retail
It was always
side.
the fun part, the store up front and the
That's how they get you.
the candy
With all the knickknacks.
Yeah.
My kids think the toy area
Yeah.
is just for them.
It's the
Like,
best thing. Oh
that's-
yeah, and kids just get in there and drag stuff everywhere. I love it. Does your in your house? Do you have like pieces of? Do you have like tractor parts on your walls?
We do not, but we have a lot of things from Cracker Barrel. We have ventured to a lot of Cracker Barrels
Okay.
over the years.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that though. The tractor, or farm equipment just
Yeah.
hanging from the wall. It's
I
a
think
good look.
you can get your picture somehow on the wall.
Some of that
at
stuff?
Yeah, they can like age it. I don't know. You have to check it out.
So you've been here for 2 years now, serving as vice president of human resources for the last year or so. What does your specific job entail?
Yeah, so I oversee 5 functional areas. So learning and development, talent acquisition, environmental health and safety, Total Rewards, and then like our HR management team. And so my main role is to be a strategic partner to the other senior leaders in the company. So we really look to influence and support ultimately the business goals. So I oversee those 5 leaders and then work with them to sort of pick out items that are important to the employees, that are important to the senior leadership, that drive our goals and initiatives forward as a company.
Of those 5 areas, and maybe it changes from year to year or time to time, but what's the most challenging of those 5 areas?
For me,
Yeah.
I think environmental health and safety, because
Okay.
it's the one that I haven't really been super engaged with in the past. Like working for restaurant and retail companies, that's just one thing that isn't really front of mind. Like
Right.
there's not a lot of things that are going to injure you. I
No,
mean,
no
maybe
giant machines or
Exactly,
forklifts
right.
at Cracker Barrel. Yeah.
So here, I mean, clearly that has to be an integral component
Yeah.
of our strategy and
Yeah.
whatnot. So that I think is one of the most challenging. The one that I'm most comfortable with is obviously talent acquisition, but it's been over the last year an opportunity to learn and grow in all of those areas. Because even though I'd had exposure to some of the things that our HR business partners work on, or Total Rewards, or learning and development, now I'm sort of seeing it in a whole new light in a lot of ways, and being involved in things that I wouldn't have necessarily touched when I was in talent acquisition.
It's tough these days with such low unemployment to find good people?
Yeah, I think that is an issue all across. Like that supersedes all industries, all
Yeah.
companies. I mean, like I mentioned with Cracker Barrel, you're always going to need those people to do that frontline work. And with AI and the competitiveness and the priorities, even like remote work, people are putting a lot more emphasis on their own financial security, and they're asking a lot more of their employers, which obviously makes it challenging at times.
And as a manufacturer, we have, I mean, you know, we there are remote folks that work in the business, but I mean, we've got machines out there that have to be manned and run. So, yeah.
Yep.
Not easy. Shame on me, but tell me what Total Rewards is.
That is sort of your compensation benefits.
Okay.
It's all of the things that
Just a
kind
general
of work
term
in the
for-
background. Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be, I think historically it would have been compensation and benefits, but now it's sort of that whole package. Did you see that? Of things that we do from an HR standpoint to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our employees.
We kind of talked about, you know, some of the elements that differ from where you came from to where you are now. What were generally the consistencies between restaurants and retail and what we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that not to go back to the staffing piece, I guess, but I think that has been the most consistent. The second most consistent is that you're dealing with people. And there's always going to be people issues, somebody going out on a leave of absence, somebody that needs, you know, additional resources and might need to leverage our employee assistance program. I mean, at the heart of every business, it comes down to the people that are doing the work. And with that comes lots of lovely things and also lots of challenges.
Right. Are people apprehensive of HR when they, you know, deal with HR? They think it's like, and
I think they can be.
have
Yeah,
you-
I think it sort of depends. Here, I really don't feel like we have that culture. I think people genuinely trust and believe in HR. A lot of my mantra has kind of been like, we're supposed to be protecting the best interests of the company. We don't want to put the company at any undue risk or, you know, create any policies or procedures that would do anything in that vein. But we also want to protect our employees and make sure they have a safe environment, make sure they're fairly compensated, make sure they have benefits that, you know, work and make sense for their family. So
hell of a balancing act, because I mean, and so much of what you do is, I mean, it's the letter of the law too, right? You know, it's required.
Yep.
So, it's my understanding that you are fluent in American Sign Language.
I am. Yes.
How did you learn that?
It was actually offered at Manual, so it was a class there
Very nice.
that I took. Through that class, I actually met my husband and his entire family, his like household growing up, I guess, not his entire family. Mom, dad, he has aunts and uncles. His sister even married a deaf gentleman, so he has that all throughout his
Okay.
background. So it just made sense. I ended up minoring in it, in college, and have obviously kept it up since we're now married and 3 kids in, and so it's something we use quite often.
how has it affected and helped impacted your work in HR?
I was trying to think through that. I think the focus of, ensuring that we have tools and policies that can meet people sort of wherever they are, not being deaf specifically, but just kind of more general. We want to make sure to provide accommodations where we can and things like that. But I did think of a story. So I was working for a manufacturing company, and we were at a job fair. And it was at like a Latino-based job fair. So my colleague was speaking to some potential candidates in Spanish, and I was communicating with some potential candidates in sign language. And afterwards, we were just like, "Oh my gosh, that was amazing!
We did
Like,
it. Yeah.
look at us!"
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. It doesn't come up too often. It's a pretty small, like close-knit community. But there are oftentimes I'm kind of out and about and get an opportunity to use it.
Very cool. How long did it take you? What is the learning curve for that? How long did it take you to get proficient?
It's definitely a use it or lose it type of scenario. So I took it for 2 years in high school, and then I took it for 2 years in college. And by that point, although he's my husband now, we had split up for a few years, so not using it. And then when I went back, some of his family and some of our like friends that are deaf, they were like, "Oh, you're not that good anymore. Like, you need to practice again. You've really kind of gotten out of sorts." So I would say 4 solid years of, using it at least through class and communication. And then when there was that gap, there was some relearning, like a bit of a learning curve after that. But now I typically, for me at least, I understand more than I'm able to put out. Like, I would definitely say I'm fluent, but there's often like a little bit of a lag, sort of like accents. Sometimes people use signs different way, or their body language is a little bit different, or they talk too fast.
Kind of vernacular with sign language.
Yeah, but like my in-laws and stuff, that's old hat at this point. Easy peasy.
I wonder how you get the job with the
like the governor.
What the pay's like for the governor.
Yeah, my husband, he hasn't interpreted. I don't think so that's what he does. He's a sign language interpreter.
Okay.
It's kind of like, why not? Since I've done it my whole life. He's never done it for like the governor or anybody huge like that, but he knows people that have. The one that, I think her name was Virginia, that interpreted for the governor. I think she might have passed away. He knew her and had worked with her at times before. So yeah.
Very interesting.
Very exciting.
So you have a wide range of experience, and kind of your wheelhouse is talent acquisition, right? Working for the large corporations that you've worked for. What is your thought process? What's your approach for building strong teams? Yeah,
I think when in recruiting, it's really important to find that alignment with the hiring manager, because ultimately the person, I could love the person, I could think they're the most amazing thing since sliced bread, but if the hiring manager doesn't have that connection, if me as the recruiter and the hiring manager don't find alignment, it's never gonna work. When I was thinking through like building my own team, when I came to Premier and even looking at the HR leadership team now, I find that I'm really drawn to people that are different from a skill set standpoint than me. Like, they're able to bring something, an alternate opinion or, perspective on something, because that helps kind of get the gears going for me, I guess. Like, I'm not one that's going to be like, oh gosh, I don't want another opinion. I really enjoy hearing those different perspectives. And now that I'm leading this very different group of people, it's been really interesting to see all of those dynamics kind of play out and come together.
Nothing wrong with a team of rivals.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep each other
We only
going.
Fight a little bit, just a few brawls here and there. So.
Nothing physical. That's kind of a no-no, right?
TBD. I'm just kidding.
Have you heard anything? Do I have anything in my file or anything? Have you heard anything bad about me?
I'm not at liberty to say.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, I've been here a while. I would assume if
it's a thick
my
file.
Background check came back bad.
Certainly in there.
They would have known. I have so many names though.
Okay.
I went aliases.
Noted.
No.
Where's my pen?
Succession planning. It's a big part of HR strategy. How do you approach identifying and developing future leaders?
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but we do have some things in the works to sort of work on calibrating how we rate our employees, how we look at and identify top talent. So that's something that's going to be a big focus for us through the latter half of this year and
awesome. So
and into next year.
New things to come.
Yeah.
You seem quite passionate about traveling, I've heard.
I do love to travel.
All over, where, particular places?
So if it were up to my husband, we'd end up in New York City any trip we took.
Interesting.
I like to branch out a little bit. I do like the city, but I sort of want to, I'm the type of person that wants to like touch everywhere. I would just want to try everywhere out before I really zero in. But I just like the experience of going somewhere that I haven't been before, or maybe I have been before, but now it's changed. It's a little bit different. Just kind of popping into like a shop or a restaurant or a bar, seeing the new thing that's happening in that area. So that's probably my favorite thing about traveling.
Do you, so going to different places, seeing different things, meeting different people, how does that influence your abilities in HR?
Yeah, I mean, traveling can be very stressful for some people. I'm a pretty laid back traveler. There's not a lot that's going to stress me out or like get me riled up. I'm just sort of like, okay, well, we'll just pop around the corner or go see a playground, if we're with the girls. And I think that has really come into how I am as a leader today. I'm a fairly laid back leader. There's not a lot that's going to get me riled up. Like you mentioned, there are times where we have to toe the line and hold the policy and, say no to a question or maybe terminate someone. Like all those things are scenarios that are going to happen, but it's sort of just like another day in HR. I'm not going to get, other than the podcast when I had a little bit of like heart palpitations, I don't get too worked up about much.
I used to. I think I'm probably sweating bullets right now, but
it is warm up here.
Yeah. I used to get a little bit more uptight about these things, and now it's just like, whatever.
Right.
We've done enough. I think it's okay. I hire people sometimes for these temporary projects. They can cut this out if they like, but is it a good rule of thumb or no? And I try to have a very open mind, and I don't ever want to prejudge anybody. What's your take on face tattoos?
I think if it's like customer facing, it may not be ideal. It probably just depends on the type of business and the customer. But I think tattoos have become a lot more common.
It's hard to not employ someone without a tattoo.
Oftentimes, I think the rarity would be someone that doesn't not have a tattoo. So it's probably, it's just up to you and what is your what's the type of work they're going to be doing. Like I don't personally see a lot of issues. Cracker Barrel, you couldn't have visible tattoos anywhere, even like hand, arm.
And that's tough these days. Nowhere. Like you said, everybody's got a tattoo.
So a lot of times they would use like cover up or Band-Aids or something like that. So I think it just depends on the business and those senior leaders that are ultimately, the ones sitting across from the customer. I'm
kind of being a smart aleck. I'm just trying to be.
That's fine.
Trying to be funny. I recall having my basement waterproofed years ago, and I got a little nervous at first because the guy that came in that was the leading the crew of people doing this, started talking to him. He had a lot of tattoos, and then when he closed his eyelids, he had eyes tattooed on his eyelids. So that was a little extreme.
I think it would throw me off.
And he could not have been nicer and could not have done a better job.
Wasn't that what they say? If you're like head to toe in tattoos, you're often like just a big teddy bear or whatever.
Yeah,
like it's all just for show.
So looking at what trends in HR or workforce management do you see becoming more important?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little at the beginning, but I think employees are becoming a lot more focused on financial security, pay transparency, just general like health and wellness, mental health, all of those things. We've really seen a whole like shift in terms of people's attention to and focus on those. I'd be remiss to not mention AI. Like I think that's something that some companies are using, some companies are not using. It sort of, again, is another perspective on where you stand on the business. But that, when I was reviewing some resumes recently, and it's very clear that candidates are using AI tools in creation of their resumes. So I think it's going to become a lot more challenging to see, does this person really have the skills or not? Like
it's pretty impressive when you tell it what to. I mean, if you're trying to get a framework of something that you're writing or report, a resume or whatever it is, it's pretty scary what it can do for you.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going away.
And so we're all just going to be, the computer's going to do everything for us. We're just going to be shallow, hollow.
This is maybe like getting too much into it, but I think there's a component of what AI can do, and then there's going to be the people piece like layered over top. So could AI write a job description for me? Yeah, easy peasy, no problem. Is that job description exactly what we need here at Premier? No, probably not. So then I'm going to have to get involved or leverage a member of the leadership team, right, to get involved and sort of work with the hiring manager to fine tune that so that we can then hopefully identify the right person to hire.
How do you, generally speaking, and from your experience at other companies, how are we doing at Premier? How do you think we're doing HR wise?
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah.
Not to like go back to the beginning, I guess, but I thought I would be in recruiting for forever. Like I never envisioned myself leaving recruiting. And so the opportunity to come to Premier and build out a talent acquisition function and like influence the strategy, that's what was really exciting to me, right? And we have a very clear peak season. So I sort of knew those expectations, like what it was gonna look like. Then this opportunity came up to now lead the HR function. And that has really stretched me in ways that I had never envisioned, but I love it. Like I love being able to see all of the different things and sort of like see it all come together. And I think Premier was in an amazing spot 2 years ago when I joined. They just needed a little help, right? They hired me in talent acquisition, hired our leader of total rewards. But now I still see us making those strides to make things better.
Certainly, we're a company that is, down for improvement and
absolutely. That was a huge being able to say, hey, I think this might be something we need to try, and have people be like, okay, yeah, we're open to try. Like we'll try it. Why not? Yeah. That was a huge breath of fresh air. You don't get that everywhere at all. You certainly do not. So, yeah, I think it's great. I love it here.
Very nice. Kara, go Rams, right?
That's right.
Dear old DuPont manual. Thank you very much for talking with us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Our Vice President of Human Resources here at Premier, Kara Rogers, everybody. I am your host, Billy Watkins. This is the whole package by Premier Packaging. Until next time, bye-bye.
Do you have comments, questions, or ideas about this topic? If so, we'd like to hear from you. Please visit prempack.com/podcast to let us know what you think. Thanks.